Now we're going to probably the most controversial conspiracy theory out of there. The McCanns. Did the McCanns murder their child? Now, I'm a firm believer that they didn't. Yes, what happened, they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have left their child alone, etc. But I don't believe they actually murdered them. Now, I know people are now chucking stuff at the computer because I know this is a very passionate subject. But again, going back to what I was saying, people lie, evidence doesn't. The evidence does not point towards the McCanns committing the crime. Now, I know there's a story or a post or something going around where this woman lists all these things. I think it's like 40 odd different things, and it's to do with the questions that were asked, the dogs, the blood found in the room, and this, that, and the other. The DNA that was found in the car that they didn't hire until days after Madeleine went missing, and this, that, and the other. And it's really sad. Obviously the young girl went missing, and, it's devastating. And, poor Kate and Jerry, yeah, they're not the most likable people. I fully get that. But, they've lost the child, and people are now pointing fingers at them. Now, if they are guilty, then let's get them caught, let's get them locked up. That's exactly what we want. But I personally, and the evidence does not point towards their guilt. So let's have a look at what people are saying. So just to, if you've been living under a rock for the last 20 years, just to fill you in on what actually happened. Back in 2007, the McCanns went on holiday to Portugal. Is it Praia-da-Luz? Is that how you actually say it? Or Praia-da-Luz or whatever?
I don't know.
It's in Portugal.
You're asking the wrong guy there.
They went on holiday in May of 2007. But on the 3rd of May, the young girl went missing. While her mum and dad, Kate and Jerry McCann, enjoyed dinner with friends at a nearby ocean club, both Kate and Jerry had checked on Madeleine and the twins, because they're all in the same room, every half an hour. But then a friend went to check at them at 9:30, but he didn't actually go into the room. He just listened at the bedroom door. And now, I don't know what you can hear from a sleeping child, but apparently he just listened at the door. But it's unclear when exactly Maddie went missing. They believe it was somewhere between 9 and 9:15, but she wasn't actually discovered missing till 10 p.m. So I don't know how they actually worked out that she went missing at 9, or between 9 and 9:15, if her parents didn't. So that means this guy, Matthew Oldfield, who checked on them at 9:30, according to what people are saying about her going missing between 9 and 9:15, she was already missing. So he obviously did a very good job of checking up on her, didn't he?
See this. I know there's umpteen theories out there about this, and I know you're going through and stuff like that. But I mean, for me, it's kind of. I mean, I remember when we were kids, we were sort of. I think my mum and dad learned quite at an early age, really. To be fair, because I remember having a holiday with me mum and dad, my nan and granddad, before my sister arrived, and then it used to be my mum and dad. We used to go off on holiday by themselves and leave us with my grandparents and stuff. And
should you be releasing this?
No, I loved it. It was great. We had 2 weeks down in Birmingham, but no, we were kind of kept up late, and I can remember, sort of, as a young kid, I can't really. I think we were somewhere in Yugoslavia or somewhere as it was at the time, and I can remember I fell asleep in the restaurant and woke up in my bed in the morning. Because obviously that magical carpet ride that you get,
exactly.
Dad carries you back.
Where you fall asleep, you always end up in your bedroom, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. As a kid, anyway.
I was going to say,
yeah.
when I fall asleep on the settee, I wake up on the settee.
Or sometimes on the floor. But
but more times than not.
More times than not. But no, it's quite. For me, this is quite a weird one because it's your kids, and for me, okay, you might want to go out for a romantic meal and stuff like that, and
But it wasn't even a romantic meal, was it? It was a meal with friends, wasn't it? So it wasn't even like him treating her to an anniversary dinner or something. It was just a group of friends who went out for a meal.
I think possibly the last quite a few holidays that I've actually been on and stuff like that. I mean, not so much the last one I've been on, but before that, when you've actually seen people and they've they've had the kids up. It's been like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, which is exactly the time that she's went missing.
Yeah, and you sort of see them and they're sort of sitting in the restaurant, sort of having the eyes open,
Yeah, sitting.
doing the adult thing.
I've obviously been a parent of 2 children. I've been there myself. Not so much the 9:30, 10 o'clock, because I never, when we went on holiday with the kids, we used to go to the family bars and what have you, and we'd maybe have a drink, but that was it. Then we'd go, because at the end of the day I was on holiday with my children. I wasn't on holiday with anybody else, so therefore I spent most of the holiday with my children. So if we went to the family bar, it was to see whatever act was on at the time. But once we'd had a drink, and we then went back to the chalet or caravan or whatever we were stopping in, and carried on with our holiday. I mean, many a night I hate the game bingo, but there's many a night we played bingo, and I was the caller because of the fact that I hate playing bingo.
I remember the last family holiday that I went on with my mum and dad. I think I was about 16, or just coming up 16 at the time,
right.
And they had a man-o-man competition, and
right.
I paired off with this girl who I'd never met before.
Well, it was a man-on-man competition. You paired off with a
yeah,
girl.
you had right. That sounded so weird, but no, there was a bit of a competition. See, what you had to do is you had to drink 2 pints of lager,
right,
or 2 pints of beer, and then what
she
you had
must have been some girl that
she was, yeah. God, I hope she's not listening. Then what you had to do is
should be ringing up.
Yeah, the phone's going to go.
Oh, yeah.
Put your and obviously put your head on the pole and you spin round 3 times, and then you had to run down, and obviously you wipe the bar out, because you couldn't stand up straight and stuff. And had this competition thing going and stuff like that. And I remember that was probably the 3rd or 4th night into the holiday, and I met up with this group of lads, and we kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
And I think the only time I actually turned up in the second week was to go and ask my dad for some more spending money, because I'd blown me savings. Yeah. On beer. It was a beast.
Which is, I always remember my kids, they would have their spending money, but it would always be like, wherever we went, it was always like,
you've got to try.
I want that, but I've left me money in the chalet, or I've left me money in the caravan, or I've left me money at the hotel, and so if you buy that for me, I'll give you the money when we get back.
Yeah.
Guess who has never received any of that money? Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. Definitely.
I hope they're listening.
Well,
Christine says yes, they do.
Exactly. So anyway, getting back to
the sidetrack.
No, it's fine. Getting back to were the parents right or wrong in leaving their children? Well, yeah, they were wrong, because you're on holiday with your children, but they put in all what they believed to be safeguards. Go and check on the children every now and again. The question is, did they go and check on the children when they say they did? We will never know. There's no evidence to say they didn't. There's no evidence to say they did. How many times had they done it in the past? How many times had they left Madeline by herself whilst they went off with their friends? Nobody will ever know, because nobody's ever going to say it. So you could say, what they did was wrong. But how many times did they do it, or how many parents do it and get away with it? That's, the problem. But anyway, some of the theories are that it was due to a burglary gone wrong. So somebody broke into, people are on holiday, so they know people have, took, money with them, etc. And so somebody broke in whilst they were rummaging around. They'd woke Madeline up, and obviously they then had to deal with a screaming child.
Do you not think, though, that if... because there was obviously the twins there as well, if I remember correctly, the twins. So obviously, if they woke the little one up and she started screaming, would that not have woke the twins up and started chaos?
So. You would have thought so, which is exactly what the. But then again, going back to the theorists and how they would change it, Madeline's not even in the room anymore. She's come out of the room because she's heard a noise and thinking that it's her parents. And I sound like a theorist now, because I'm actually giving an excuse of why it doesn't work the children.
It's good to explain it, though, isn't it?
She goes into the room, sees who's not her dad, rummaging around in the drawers, stealing stuff and what have you, and starts to scream. She's not in the room with the kids anymore, so therefore, it doesn't wake the twins up. And this was actually the route that Scotland Yard went down was that it was a bungle burglary. And that's what they based their whole case on. Obviously, you know, it never came to fruition. But the Portuguese police, they actually dismissed that theory. They said that wasn't what had happened. So there's got to be some conflict. If Scotland Yard is saying that this is what happened, and the Portuguese police are saying no, this isn't what happened, then there's got to be something adrift.
Because there was no CCTV, was there?
Well,
or the CCTV wasn't working. Then there was the guy supposedly. I don't know what I'm stepping on you.
Yeah, you probably are.
Oh, okay.
The child trafficker, is
Yeah.
that what you're on about?
No.
That's right. Sorry.
No, go on. I'll let you go off, and then if
A heartbreaking theory is that she was taken and kept alive by child traffickers who could have potentially sold her desperate couples, or sold her to desperate couples who wanted children.
because was there not a bit of news about that where supposedly she'd been. They'd had a photograph of a kid that looked suspiciously like her, and it was somewhere from, I don't know, Middle East or somewhere like that.
Well, the thing was, I mean, the where they are was 90 minutes away from the border.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back to thinking that it took them an hour to discover she was missing, she was now 30 minutes away from the border.
Yeah.
When they discovered she was missing. So regardless of what happened, unless they had a aeroplane or anything like that, it wouldn't actually. She was off out of the country and away before they'd even realise.
There was a little bit behind that theory as well, where apparently somebody had sort of seen her and they'd sort of.
But people
tipped
are
the
saying
wink
her all the time on that.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a woman on social media actually thought she was, but then it turned out, how could it possibly be? Because of her age and this, that, and the other.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, there was a woman actually.
There's a whole new conspiracy theory there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but then, as I mentioned earlier, there's many people actually believe that that the parents were guilty, that they'd actually, you know, but as I mentioned, there is yet to be any forensic evidence linking the McCanns to the disappearance of their daughter.
But there wasn't any forensic evidence anyway, was there? Because
the forensic evidence was there was blood in the apartment, which could have come from anybody.
Yeah, but you could have cut your finger though, couldn't you?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
It could have, you know, nosebleed, because apparently she had prolific nosebleeder or something.
Most kids do. Well,
exactly. There was a DNA found in the car, which was the hire car.
Was that the McCann's car itself?
It was what you call it. It was I can't remember the correct phrasing for it at the moment, which is really bad considering that I'm studying at university. But there's an actual correct phrase for it. And basically what they said was it could have come from any of the McCanns.
Because of the family link.
Exactly.
DNA.
Familiarity. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I knew it. I knew they knew the word. But yeah. So therefore, you know, so there isn't any. So there was forensic evidence, but no. In the corpse dogs or the whatever they call them, the cadaver dog.
Cadaver. Cadaver.
Yeah, that's the one.
Cadaver dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, they.
Who's doing this course?
Yeah, exactly. They smell death, but it's not difficult to smell because it's not necessarily. And plus, a dog. When they brought the dogs in, the smell of death wouldn't have been around because it doesn't last that long. It lasts about 24 hours, and it was about 2 or 3 days after the event that they brought the dogs in, so the dogs wouldn't have been able to smell it anyway.
Yeah.
So if they did smell something, it had nothing to do with the case. So yeah. Another one is it was a freak accident that she woke up in the middle of the night. Her parents weren't there, so she went looking for her parents and had an accident. Whether she fell in the sea or whatever. But that's another theory, is that she had an accident. Which, to be honest, is probably the most realistic one out of the lot. That she had an accident and couldn't be found.
That or the fact that she was stolen to order, I think it's probably I think the two that I would kind of go with, you know what I mean? But then you would have thought if she'd kind of had an accident that they would have actually found some evidence outside the flat, which outside the holiday home, which they didn't.
It says though, you could take a 10-minute drive from where they live, or where they were, and you can look down a 100-foot drop.
Is that right?
Yeah. So therefore, obviously, accidents can't happen.
Oh yeah,
do happen. And as I say, I mean, personally, I think I would come down on that being an actual.
I mean, let's face it. If a kid's going to find trouble, they'll find trouble. That's what.
Oh, well, you've got to look no further than what do you call it?
Yeah.
The kid who climbed in with the gorilla. You look at a gorilla and you don't go, oh, I'm going to crawl in with that gorilla.
Yeah.
But a kid doesn't think like that, does
No,
a kid will go, oh, it's a gorilla. I want to go and play with that monkey. And obviously we know what happened. So anyway, that's the McCanns. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to play another Linda story of Creswell Towers.
Linda's Grisly Tales.
Linda's Grizzly Tales, sorry. Yeah, we're gonna play another Lindsay's
Linda?
Lindsay? Linda.
It's getting to that time of night, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. We've got 32 minutes left. But yeah, we're gonna play you the Creswell Towers story. Just a short story, but it gives us enough time to have a breather, and then we're going to come back and we're going to finish off the show with probably the weirdest conspiracy theory that's out there. So here we go.
Christine's asking if you're getting tired.
Yeah, probably more than likely.
Yeah.
Well, it is nearly.
He's had 9 cups of coffee, Christine.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. It's not so much the toilet; it's the toilet that I need.
He's got to go to the loo.
So anyway,
happens at his age.
Yeah. So here we go. Linda and her Creswell Towers story.
Creswell Tower. Creswell Tower, dating back to the 13th century, stands in the picturesque village of the same name. It stands in sight of Drawridge Bay, a 7-mile long stretch of beach and sand dunes. The tower was formerly the seat of the Creswell family, one of the oldest families in Northumberland. In the 18th century, a mansion house was built adjoining the tower. Less than 100 years later, the house was destroyed, but to this day the roof groove can still be seen on the north wall of the tower. In 1821, Creswell Hall was built to the west of the tower. However, this was demolished in 1937. The tower now stands alone in woodland next to a caravan park named after the historic building. It is well preserved from the outside, and the inside consists of the stone byre on the ground floor and 2 upper floors accessible by a spiral staircase. A sad story associated with the tower tells how the beautiful daughter of the family living at the tower had fallen in love with a young Danish prince. The Viking raids on England had ended a number of years earlier, and a lot of the Danes had decided to stay in England and set up home, particularly in the northeast. A large number of Viking raids on Northumberland had started at Drawridge Bay, as it was a long, unprotected stretch of coast, and Creswell was under constant attack. The beautiful girl's family were unforgiving and hated the idea of her having anything to do with someone who they still considered their enemy. The girl told her family of plans to marry the prince, and they were absolutely furious. The wedding plans were made with the Danish prince paying his fiancée's family a generous dowry, and the couple couldn't have been happier. They were to be wed outside Creswell Tower, and on the day of the wedding, a huge crowd of locals gathered. The locals had taken to the Danish prince, and spirits were high in the village. The bride waited patiently at the top of the tower, looking out towards Drawridge Bay for her husband-to-be to arrive. She didn't have to wait long as she saw a horse approaching along the beach. However, her joy turned to horror in an instant as she saw her 3 brothers emerge from the sand dunes, unaware their sister was watching, and attacked the prince. One of the brothers stabbed him with a spear, pushing the point upwards into his heart. The prince slumped forward in his saddle as the horse galloped towards the tower. He fell from the horse, and his ankle got caught up in a rope. The crowd cheered as the horse approached, But as the horse got closer, the crowd were horrified to see the prince being dragged along behind his horse. Some of the onlookers managed to calm the horse down and free the prince from the rope. He was dead. The tragic news was shouted up to the top of the tower, and the horrified girl was beside herself with grief. Whether she fainted or decided she couldn't face life without the man she loved is unknown, but she fell from the top of the tower to her death. These days, the tower is a roofless ruin, covered in ivy and surrounded by weeds and woodland. It is said that to this very day the girl's ghostly form can occasionally still be seen gazing out to sea from the tower roof. The spirit of the Danish prince is not seen, but is often heard, a single blood-curdling scream of agony coming from the sand dunes at Droridge Bay, followed by the pounding of horses' hooves. Another less well-known variation of the above story is set in more modern times, the mid-18th century. A pretty young lady was stood atop Creswell Tower when she witnessed her two brothers murder her boyfriend near the lifeboat shelter, which is now a car park. As a result, she went insane and died shortly afterwards. Her restless spirit now roams the village, wandering the streets, going into gardens and knocking on and looking through the windows. Screams have been heard across the fields, described by those who've heard them as being almost human and not of this world. Droridge Bay, which actually means the Bay of the Druids, is said to be haunted by a witch who met her end in the wild, untamed sea at the bay. She was caught practicing witchcraft one Halloween night at Seaton Delaval, a village 14 miles south of Droridge Bay, and was sentenced to be burned at the stake. As she was being tied to the burning post and wood faggots placed at her feet, she begged the locals her one last request. She asked to be brought 2 unused bowls made from hazelwood and some water to cleanse her feet. It was agreed that this seemed a harmless enough request, and she was simply delaying her own death. The bowls were brought to her and she was untied. As she put her feet into the bowls, the locals were stunned and horrified to see the witch rise high up into the moonlit sky, her laughter filling the air. She headed north, but as she flew over Droridge Bay, one of the bowls fell from her foot, and the witch fell from the sky into the crashing waves, where the sea took her life. People have reported seeing a figure walking out of the sea at dusk, then vanish before their very eyes. I hope you enjoyed this story. It was taken from the book written by Rob Kirkup, Ghostly Northumberland, and is available at all good bookshops. It was first published in 2008 by the History Press.
So there we go, there's Linda and her grisly tales. So as I say, we've got half an hour left, well, 25 minutes left. So if you want to call us, it's 01207 795 005. Or if you just want to send us a text, 60777, but you must start your text with 89MX4. And just let us know. I mean, we were going to discuss loads, but we seem to haven't been able to get away from the conspiracy theories. But that's fine, because we have more shows, which obviously we'll advertise. So that's another reason why you should
follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
So yeah, so just look for Amborn Radio on any of them, and you'll be able to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. So there you go. So we're gonna finish off tonight with which I think is the weirdest conspiracy theory of all time. And we'll start off. There's actually 2 parts to this. So we'll start off with the one that probably a lot of people have heard of, and it's that Paul McCartney is dead. Back in 1960, was it 66? that he had an accident, or was it 67 that he had an accident?
Was it supposed to be a car accident?
Yeah, it was early 1967. There was a rumour circulated in London that Paul McCartney had been killed in a traffic accident while driving along the M1. Well, if he drove along the M1, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
On January the 7th. Apparently, he was decapitated.
They've had photographs, haven't they, where they've actually showed like photographs of supposed, for obviously on the conspiracy sites and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
They've actually shown the photographs, and I found this quite interesting. Obviously, having an interest in photography, and they showed you, and it's kind of. It's a really interesting photo. Again, I haven't seen the original, so you don't know whether they've been manipulated or not. But there is a distinct difference between obviously the information they're supplying would lead you to believe.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he was replaced because obviously due to the success of the Beatles, and it was the early days and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know whether my mum's listening, but because she's a huge Beatles fan.
Yeah.
And you know, I believe she used to go and see them back in the day, you know, but there was a kind of a distinct difference between the two, on the theories that I've read about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of them is the Abbey Road cover, which is 50-year-old this year. And it's the way they're walking across the zebra crossing. The first one is John, who's dressed all in white, and they say that represents an angel. Ringo then follows all in black, so therefore he represents the Undertaker. Right at the back is George, and he's all in denim, but he represents the Gravedigger. But in amongst them is Paul, and he's like sort of, you know, dressed as a corpse, shall we say. He's got no shoes on. He's out of step with them, and he's wearing obviously, you know.
I've never heard this.
Yeah.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, but that's apparently what the Abbey Road. So obviously, if Paul's dead and he's been replaced, then the person that they replaced him with, you know, is obviously the corpse. Also, and this is where conspiracy theorists really, really dig deep.
All right, go on.
If you look at the Volkswagen Beetle,
It's a look on his face here. I can tell something's coming.
if you look at the Volkswagen Beetle on the photograph of the Abbey Road cover, so if you've got the album, look at the Abbey Road cover. If you haven't, Google Abbey Road LP
Right, hold
cover.
on, I'm gonna have a go here. What is it? So hold on, we'll get it up in the studio.
To the left of the picture, there's a white or cream VW Beetle.
Right, hold on, here we go. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you zoom in on the registration number of the Beetle.
Oh, that's not a good photograph to do that too. Hold on, let's have a. Go on then, Paddy. Tell us what it.
If you zoom in on the registration number of the Beetle, bearing in mind it's a Beetle to start off with,
Yeah.
the Volkswagen Beetle.
High resolution.
So, you know,
Yeah.
if you look at the registration, part of the registration is 28IF.
Right, hold on. I'm struggling to do that. Oh, there we go. Oh. I can't see that. It's too.
But yeah,
Too
so
pixelated.
part of it is 28IF. So if you get a chance to have a look at it, when the Abbey Road cover photograph was taken, was, as I said, 50 years ago, 1969. How old do you think Paul McCartney was in 1969?
Oh, go on. 28.
28. So he would have been 28 if he was alive. 28IF.
Wow.
So
Never heard that one.
this is what I'm saying. Conspiracy theorists literally look at everything. So yeah.
Well, you've got to. I mean, the thing is, if you're going to do a good conspiracy theory, you've got to have
Well,
really
exactly,
good evidence and
exactly.
stuff like that, haven't you? I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to make it kind of. Well, I haven't said that. I have heard some corkers where you,
Yeah.
you do just laugh and go, yeah, right, okay, fair enough.
So yeah. So there's that. You know. Apparently, there's a song. Where's it at? I did read about this. Is it Strawberry Fields? And it ends with the line, something along the lines of "I buried Paul." John Lennon says, "I buried Paul," or something along them lines. Apparently, there's lots of songs that stuff appear where it sort of points towards Paul McCartney apparently not being with us anymore.
I'm just looking at that picture there now of them crossing the road.
Yeah.
Paul hasn't got any shoes on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's supposed to be dressed as a corpse because obviously, he's dead. And therefore, you've got the angel in the front with John Lennon. You've got the Undertaker as Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
You've then got Paul, who's meant to be the corpse. And then you've got
Some really
George
funky
Harrison.
denims there.
Well, George Harrison is meant to be... So basically, John's come to take the spirit away. Ringo's burying Paul, who's the corpse. And then George is coming along to fill the grave in. Yep.
Wow.
And that's exactly how it... so people do look at things and come up with some weird and wonderful things. Now, Revolution 9... so if I play this, will it come through?
We should do.
Right.
Well, on where are we?
Just there's a couple of clips from the song Revolution 9. So this is what is played if you play it forward.
Number 9. I don't think that's not very good.
No, it's not.
Tell you what it is, Paddy. We'll try it on. Try it on another computer. If you just give us 2 seconds, we'll set that up on.
Yeah. So basically, what's happening is the guy is saying number 9.
I can hear the number 9. Just
Yeah.
Is that it there? That one. Is that the big
Yes, I believe it is. Yes. If you go down, there's a
right.
So yeah, so the guy is saying 9 or number 9. So
we'll try.
we'll see if
Should
you
we
can
try
see if
that
you
again?
can.
I'm just going to.
See if you can hear it a bit more clearer now.
Number 9.
Yeah,
Number
that's a lot
9.
clearer.
Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9.
And as we all know, if you want to hear a message, you play it backwards.
Right. Okay. That's that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Underman. 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 Underman.
And what he's actually saying, if you didn't hear it, is turn me on, dead man. Or at least that's what they're saying that he's saying.
Right. I tell you what, Paddy. Can we listen to that again?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
of
see.
course.
Hold on. Let's have a bit fiddle here with the.
Underman. 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 Underman.
I'm getting the dead man, but I'm not getting the turn me on bit.
Well, that's the dead man. Yeah, so...
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Clutching at straws. I mean, the first question I've got to ask is, who actually decides to play their records backwards?
Well, it was. I know, but there was a bit of a thing when I was a kid.
Well, the scratching and all that.
No,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Was it Iron Maiden or something? I can't remember. There was Alice Cooper or something like that. It was kind of, you had to play it backwards, and there was a hidden message. And
Yeah.
one of the Queen tracks had a hidden message
and
in the back.
what year was that when you were young?
That was the 80s.
80s, exactly.
Mid-80s.
We're talking 20 years earlier than that,
Oh.
when they've come up with this theory. So, yeah. So, obviously, the Paul is dead theory is out there.
That's
and
a little bit weird. That
obviously, the rebuttal is that on 21st of October 1969, the Beatles press office again issued statements denying the rumour, deeming it a load of old rubbish, and saying that the story has been circulating for about 2 years. We get letters from all sorts of nuts, but Paul is still very much with us. On the 24th of October, BBC radio reporter Chris Drake was granted an interview with McCartney at his farm. McCartney said that the speculation was understandable given that he normally did an interview a week to ensure he remained in the news, but as he sort of gone away into the farm just to sort of like spend some time with his wife and child, Linda and what's his daughter called?
Stella McCartney.
Yeah, so he'd obviously like sort of gone off into spend more time with them. That was the reason why he'd never. Following the publication of the article and the photo in the Life magazine issued on the 7th of November, the rumour started to decline. In the interview, McCartney was quoted as saying, "Perhaps the rumour started because I haven't been much in the press lately. I have done enough press for a lifetime and don't have anything to say these days. I'm happy to be with my family and will work when I work. I was switched on for 10 years and I never switched off. Now I'm switching off whenever I can. I'd rather be a little less famous these days."
Fair play to the guy. I mean, you know, if that's the kind of the thing is, I was actually, I was listening to a news story today, to do with Beyonce, with her, was it, she's trademarked her daughter's name to Blue Ivy or something?
Well, probably.
Something like that. I was listening, it was something
They're all doing weird stuff, aren't they?
I was listening to it on the
I
radio.
mean, it's like O.J. Simpson tried to copyright O.J.
Oh yeah, okay. But no, they had this. They were talking about it, and then the guys who were talking about it on the radio were actually then started talking about Stella McCartney, and they were saying about how Dad bankrolled her business, but how now she's actually incredibly successful, and they were actually asking the question whether about being a child of a superstar,
right.
And does that give you the entitlement? Does that give you, you know?
Yeah,
and,
it's got to help, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, she's had a good kickstart.
If her father's bankrolling that business, then it's got to help, hasn't it?
Well, but I think the thing is, at the end of the day, though, she's actually she stood up on her own right. Stella, to be fair, I mean, yes, maybe she did have a little bit of help from her dad. I think we all get a little bit of help from our parents and stuff. But it's quite interesting. You know,
definitely.
With the names and things.
But you know, apparently, Paul's not dead. Even conspiracy theorists say this.
All right.
The reason Paul isn't dead, because he never existed in the first place.
Right, okay.
Because apparently the Beatles never existed. There's an actual premise that the Beatles never existed.
I hope my mum's not listening.
And what all that money I've spent on all them records and they don't even exist.
She'll be...
But so Christine could hear the turn me on, but not the dead man bit. Whereas you could hear the dead man bit, but not
Sorry,
the turn me
Christine,
on.
I didn't have that page up at the time, but I got the dead man bit, but I couldn't get the...
So there, between the two of you,
No.
you heard the full message.
There we go. Team effort, I love it.
So this is the premise. This is not a joke. On this site, because there is an actual site, the BeatlesNeverExisted.com. And it's like, this site is here to expose the actions of those who exploited these young men and defrauded us, their fans. It is to defend the honour of everyone involved who did not take part in it willingly. It has become apparent to us in this extensive and painstaking research that there were never just 4 individual people known as John, Paul, George and Ringo, who comprised one rock and roll band known as the Beatles and rose to fame as the world's first supergroup. For all intents and purposes, as far as we can tell, no such group existed. We're here to explore whether the original individuals themselves ever existed. So, as I say, Paul can't be dead because he didn't exist. And if so, what may have happened to them and by whom?
Paddy's just bought a photograph up in the studio here, and I'm looking at it, and that is actually one of the photographs that I've seen, which was evidence for Paul actually dying and being replaced by a doppelganger, I think was the terminology used in the bit that I read.
Yeah.
But they're saying there's differences between his ears, these facial expressions, eyebrow thickness, eye sockets, etc. Eyes are closer together, etc. And it's quite an interesting. It's an interesting theory, put it that way.
Yeah. Oh,
it's interesting bedtime
without
reading.
a shadow of doubt. I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, there's plenty of pictures on this site which, you know, it said this is this and this, that, and the other. But there's lots of different things. Clones is one of the things. They reckon that they will clone. So, you know, fake Paul is apparently what they call him.
Fake Paul.
Yeah.
Thanks, Christine.
Yeah. So, you know, but
Excellent.
they say the clones, but if you know what a clone is, there can't be. Because what they're saying is, obviously, Paul's died, so he's been replaced by a clone. Now, a clone is something that's born of something. You remember Dolly the sheep, who was cloned. But she came from an embryo. Mm-hmm. So she came as a lamb and then grew up to be a sheep.
I tell you what I have watched recently, which was on Netflix. It's a series called Black Mirror. I don't know whether you've heard of it.
I've
Paddy.
heard of it, yes. Never seen it, but I have heard it.
There's a one with Miley Cyrus on it, and she's playing a pop singer who's it's a bit of a sort of Britney Spears type sort of
Right.
Disney sort
Ah.
of
Yeah.
that pop princess style,
Yeah.
and it's sort of showing her that, and then it's a wicked evil stepmother and stuff, and she's putting her on drugs, and she's
Right.
got her under control because she decides
Yeah.
to rebel and stuff, and then she's in a life support machine, and they keep her artificially, it's kind of that conspiracy theory sort of thing going on, and sort
Yeah.
of it was quite an interesting.
Oh yeah. Oh
Hour.
well, that's the thing. It is interesting, isn't it? It's you do hear things and they are quite interesting. I mean, as you say,
People's minds,
you look at photographs. Now, I would look at a photograph of me, and I'd look at a photograph of me when I was 20. And there's probably some distinctions apart from the fact that I had hair.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen that one.
There will be distinctions and there will be differences. Because people age, their facial features change to not like excessively, so that you don't look like who you were, but your skin wrinkles or stretches or things that happen, like broken noses. I mean, my nose is a completely different shape to what I was born with, because of the fact that I've had my nose broken twice. So it has got a little bit of a hook on it, and this, that, and the other. So yeah, there's lots of things that would have changed over time, and some of these photos that are being shown, and such as the ears are slightly different, and but are they enough to actually say that this person didn't exist? That's the question you've got to ask. And but it's not just Paul who they're saying. It's all of them. They all have distinctive or non-distinctive, should I say, differences. So therefore, a group as big as the Beatles didn't exist.
But they are going to attract that type of conspiracy theory sort of.
Of course you are,
Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt. But if these guys didn't exist and they were all clones, then there must have been really good clones, because they came up with music like this.
It's a really bad connection, isn't it?
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
So yeah, so there's the Beatles with 8 days a week, because that's another one of the conspiracy theories, is that because of their extensive workload, that's why, because there is an actual theory that there's more than one lot of Beatles.
Wow.
There's about 5 or 6 different groups, all cloned. So Paul has 5 or 6 clones, John has 5 or 6
So,
clones.
right then, Paddy, so you're actually saying that, right? So if that being the case, if they're actually cloned,
Yeah.
so obviously when John got shot,
Yeah. Obviously, they must have went around and shot to the other 5 as well. Yeah, because otherwise, John number 5 could be walking down the street and everybody, oh, John Lennon's alive. He's alive. It's alive. It sounds like what
It's
you call him?
alive.
Brian Blessed of Flash Gordon. He's alive.
Well,
What do
got
you
that
mean?
somewhere.
John's alive. But yeah, so the
Love that film.
So yeah, there's 5 or 6 of the clones of each of the. I mean, would you really want 5 or 6 Ringo stars? Yeah.
not particularly, no.
But yeah, they would have to have killed them when George and John died. They would have to have killed them, because otherwise, if the conspiracy theorists are right, but obviously they're not. But yeah, so that was why I played 8 days a week, because that was another theory, that there was so many, the workload was so big that they had to have more clones. So
Really interesting.
it is, and probably the weirdest thing. I mean, we could talk all night about
Literally.
conspiracy literally. Yeah, because there's so many conspiracy theories out there. I just picked a couple just to, I mean, I didn't actually. I picked a couple to last an hour. Believe it or not, I was only going to do conspiracy theories for an hour, but it actually took 3 hours to get through them.
Plus the start of the evening.
Well, that's it, yeah. So we're going to move on to other things. I mean, Dave's posted that picture on the Amber Radio Facebook page about the UFO. So have a look at that, and tell me what you think, or tell us what you think. We will let you know via Facebook when the next paranormal experience is going to be, because we're fast approaching the end. We'll probably, the way it's going, we'll probably come up with a subject for the next one.
I think
From the list of paranormal, because as I say, 4 hours we've spoke about conspiracy theories.
But guys, seriously, if you're out there and we know you're listening, send us a message. All right, get in contact with the show. It's 60777 and the text. And if you start your text message with 89MX4, so that's 60777, and start your message with 89MX4. Send us a message. Get in contact with us on the Amber and Radio Facebook page. Leave us a message, all right, and we'll give you a shout out. I think is probably the best thing.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, if there's any conspiracy theories that you know of,
Yes.
let us know.
Educate me.
But we'll definitely be coming back. I mean, we're going to be talking about lots of ghost stories and stuff like that. There's lots of subjects we can discuss, and this is exactly what I said when we first thought about the paranormal experience. There's lots of things we can discuss, and this is exactly what we're going to do. So, all that's left to do is for us to move off. So, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night.